Hey, what's up? It's me, your girl E, and today we are live with the author chat. We have a very, 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 very special guest. This is my girl. This is my ace boo coon. Her name is TK Simpson. She is a poet. She is an author. She is a multifaceted entrepreneur. We're gonna talk about her books. We're gonna talk about her journey. We're gonna talk about the poetry, and I got a suspicion. She's been denying it for years, but I got a suspicion she's one of the main characters. She keeps saying she's not. Mm. But author intuition, I believe she is. We're gonna bring her on. Her name is TK Simpson. TK, thank you so much for joining me
Hi.
live. We are live, YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much. TK. I'm just gonna cut straight to it. I read Faith a few years ago. It had me in, it pulled me in. Here's the thing: I'm not a fan of urban fiction, but when it comes to you, I was like, what? Like what? No, he didn't. And I asked you because we have worked together in a call center. I asked you repeatedly. You kept saying, "No, that's not me." Are you Faith? Are you Faith?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I am so glad to be here. And no, I am not the
Mm-mm.
main character, Faith, of
I don't
the
know.
Faith series.
I don't know. Is there a little faith in you?
Yeah, I would say that there is a little bit of faith in me, but there are two other main characters in the book. One of them is Talon Gunner, and the other one is Rick Rose. I feel like there's a little bit of me in them too.
Oh, see, you thug life. I ain't mad at you, baby.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hmm, hmm. So I'm gonna let the readers decide. But TK was one of my authors, and she branched off and did her own thing. She is extremely talented. She has artistic vision. Even when you redid Faith and you wrote the poem in the form of an F, that was so deep. Everybody knows me when it comes to either hip hop, Lauren Hill especially, hip hop, Missy, and the Book of Psalms. I don't do poetry,
Hmm.
but you were just strategic and move, and that's of course a writing aspect that a lot of us strive to be as well. I give you much kudos. So
Thank you.
let's talk about your writing journey. When did you know that there's a writing gift in you?
Ah man, when I actually knew there was a gift, I would say not until I got older and started writing an actual novel, probably about um 22 maybe.
Okay.
Now I was writing before that. I started writing songs and poetry whenever I was young, probably about 12, 13. And that was just how I expressed myself, though. You know, when I expressed my feelings, I would just write some poetry. And most of the
Mhm.
time, I would write whenever I was feeling a little down. So a lot of my poems, the first poems that I ever written, were just like poems that was expressing my sadness and things like that. But once I got older, and like just had this story in my head I wanted to tell. That's where faith
Mhm.
came in, and I just started writing. I was just up all night, just writing, because I had to get this story out of me. But then I just had this idea that I wanted to also utilize other things that I've written, like poetry. But that didn't happen until I met you at the call center that we worked at. Because I was writing faith then. I'd be sitting at the desk writing, and
And
you
a little
came
send
over.
out notebooks, yeah.
You came over like, what you doing? I said, writing. And he said, writing. Yeah. And he's like, well, you a writer. I'm a publisher. I said, huh?
Er?
I didn't even like I didn't even know what to do. Like, you know, when I'm writing and it's like I didn't know where to how to take it anywhere. And you opened up the door for me to
Oh,
take it to the next level and to become a published author.
wow. Okay.
And at that point you just opened up my mind to other ideas and possibilities. I was like, well, if I'm gonna publish this novel, let me pull this poetry that
Yes.
I got in these books out
Yes.
and, you know, start publishing this poetry too, because this is my form of writing. And this is something that I feel like could be shared with people, and it could be, you know, it can make them feel things and make them feel like they got somebody to relate to, make you laugh, make you cry, you know. And at that point, I wanted to start to better my craft. That made me want to start to better my craft. So I started to
Yeah.
do research on other poems and other types of poetry and other forms of poetry. And that's where I learned about the graphic poetry that you can, you know, write poems in the forms of pictures
Mm.
and things like that. And I'm like, okay, you know, so now we're starting to fuel, you know, my creativity. I'm starting to make things my own, and I'm coming up with these other ideas with poetry. And, you know, now I'm starting to want to write more. And now
Okay.
instead of just writing poetry when I'm not feeling happy, I wanted to start trying to tap in when I was feeling positive and good emotions, because people starting to read this. And I
Right.
don't want nobody to feel like, dang, you know, she always make me cry. She get deep, but you know, no, I want to bring some joy. So that just challenged me, you know, made me better, made me work harder, made me, you know, tap into different parts of myself. And it was hard. It was challenging because when I'm sad, that stuff flow like
Right.
water, you know. I get the rhyming and stuff. But but doing the positive writing, I literally had to expand my vocabulary, learn new words, like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, to rhyme with other words. Cause I'm just a rhymer. It just flows out of me like that. I can't help myself. And I did try to write poetry that didn't rhyme. I did do it. However, I just feel like mine is, you know, my niche is in the rhyming.
No, I completely get it because I've made it very clear numerous times. Me and poetry does not work. Okay, I've so and I'm a big. Everybody knows I love Lauren Hill. Despite some of the issues that she's going through right now, she did cancel concerts. I'm like, Lauren, you're making me look bad, baby. But
She's good people.
I ain't no judgment. She said we lucky that to have her that she showed up on the stage. So I'm like, whatever, just sing your song. But unless it's a psalm, the book in the Bible, or Lauren, or even Missy. I even give Missy her dues because she's the first hip hop MC that was inducted in the rock and roll Hall of Fame. So kudos to Missy.
Hmm.
Me and poetry, I don't get it. I felt poetry class a couple years ago. I was going to school for creative writing. My brother even asked me, he says, "How in the world did you fail poetry? You're a creative writer. This doesn't work." However, this past April, actually April 1st, a friend of mine, her brother unfortunately had passed away, and she asked me to write a poem to recite at his funeral. And I didn't have the heart to tell her I don't do poetry. But because this is a dear friend of mine, and she definitely has been there for me through the thick and the thin, I did challenge myself.
Hmm.
And it ironically was April 1st, which was the start of National Poetry Month in April. So I wrote a poem for it. I posted on social media and everything. And I was actually proud of myself because one, I was able to deliver for my friend and also write a poem. It was the most challenging thing. It took me a whole week to kind of get a brainstorm. And then I wrote it that morning. And I said, I hope I don't screw up. But it was a challenge. So I'm definitely going to push myself on a creative level to tap into poetry because it's woo, me and poetry.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
I'm gonna have to go check that out. I'm not on social media at all these days.
Okay.
A lot of my a lot of the things that I got going on don't really leave me time to get on
Right.
social media and interact the way that I would want to. So I miss a lot. So I'm gonna have to
I'll
definitely
send it to
check
you.
that, please,
I'll
because
definitely send it because
it.
I was so scared. And then I had to, read it, and and I'm not against reading it, but again, it was me and poetry. Dr. Seuss
Mm-hmm.
stuff, Sesame Street vibes. I can get it. Like I said, you throw some hip hop at me, and I'm like, oh, they are so deep. They speaking it. I can speak that knowledge. You know what I mean? But you give me some Maya Angelou, you give me some James Baldwin, you give me some Langston Hughes, you give me. I'll be like, I don't know what they're talking about. Oh my gosh, I got a headache. I'm crying. I don't get it.
I,
I can
I can understand that because all poets, listen, I have read poetry and probably had the most puzzled look on my face. And I want to understand it. I try because I'm a poet myself, but everybody's way of expression is different, way with words is different. And it'd be like, I know that that came from someplace within and I want
yeah,
to get it, but
yeah.
you don't always. So I get that.
I'm like, oh man, they're on a whole nother level. So let's talk about your writing process. What is the what inspires you? Let's talk about for inspiration far as poetry, and then let's shift to the inspiration regarding your create before regarding fiction. So let's start with what inspires you.
Words.
Okay.
So I like words. I like to hear certain words, and I like to use certain words. And sometimes words will come to me and I'll, write it down, or I'll hear a word that somebody said and I'll write it down and I'll say, I'm going to use that word
Okay.
in a poem, you know. And that is part of the creative process for me, because I really have to do stuff sometimes like Google synonyms for words and Google rhyming words. Like, it don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's actually a process. It comes in two steps, you know what I mean? So I get inspired by words. And then I also get inspired by my feelings. Sometimes if I'm feeling some stuff so deep, I gotta get it out. And the best way to get it out is through poetry.
Okay.
And so whenever I'm like going through and writing a poem, sometimes it'll come out as a draft and I just pour out, everything. And I might have to skip a line because I can't
Right.
really think of a rhyming word, but I know I'm using that word. And that's whenever, after I've, completed the poem and got all my feelings out, now I start creatively constructing it.
I get it. You gotta get
And
the
now I
emotions out.
start,
Yeah.
yeah, now I start to, like I said, okay, I need a line here to rhyme with this word. Now I'm about to start Googling words and things, but that's fun for me.
Yeah.
That's the part that, helps it come together. You know what I mean? And I really, really enjoy that part. And that's where, like I said, I start expanding my vocabulary and just learning new words and things like that. Like, it literally, helps me just to become, I would say, more intelligent and brighter with words. Helps me express myself better. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I have to articulate these phrases in certain ways. And I want people to understand. I don't want to just throw words on this, and have people read it like, and have that puzzling look that I be having sometimes. So I want to give that too, in the midst of me expressing myself, I want it to be received. I don't just want to, you know what I mean, get it out. I want it to be received.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Words are very powerful. My favorite, everybody knows my all-time favorite author, who I bow down. Well, don't worship, but I much kudos and salute is Toni Morrison. And I can't tell you how many times I watched her documentary. I'm a stalker, but she has. She, I'm I stalk her. She's been dead for like 5 years, but I'll stalk her. Um, she was a kid and she wrote, I guess the F word on her and her sister wrote it on concrete, and her somebody either her mother or her auntie whatever saw the word,
Mm-hmm.
or they it was something where they saw the F word, and the adult in her life was appalled that they saw it, and that's when she realized that words have power. I said,
Mm-hmm.
wow, wow. And a lot of people don't understand that there's power with words and power with using the words to convey your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And November is National Writers Month, and we've been doing a journal challenge. Writers Block been doing a journal challenge, and I just find it therapeutic not only to journal but to get the emotion out. Whether you're writing it on paper, or I mean, everybody's not a writer, everybody's not an author.
Right.
But if well, I'll say this: there's author and there's authors and there's writers. You and I are
Mm-hmm.
both authors. Authors are those that write stories.
Right.
Writers are more people that do editorials, such as magazines. And if you have the gift of both, such as you and me, um, writing out what you're feeling and what you're going through is going to shift. I'll say this: it will shift the atmosphere to what you're trying to get out there, or
Mm-hmm.
what's inside that you need to get rid of. That's
Mm-hmm.
why writing is so therapeutic. Rather you just say, "Dear diary, I had a bad day." That's it. You don't want to elaborate on it. You just want to get it out your system. You don't have your mother, your father, your bestie to share that I just had a bad day or had a great day. And
Yep.
that's the thing. And a lot of people don't really get how powerful it is, because sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me, which they can. So you don't
Yes.
want to say the wrong thing, and you don't want, you know what I mean, because you can hurt somebody's feelings. You can always say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I take it back." The person can forgive you, forget about
Mm-hmm.
it, move on. But it's it always been out there. And life and death are in
Yep.
the power of the tongue. So if you say it, You speak it. If you speak death, death can come. If you speak life, life can come, because words has so much power. And a lot of people don't understand that. Um, John Grisham's book, The Pelican Brief, when the character wrote her opinion on who killed these senators, she just wrote a thesis, gave it to her boyfriend, who happens to be a college professor, and he knew the people in the Senate. When they read it, they realized that she was on to their conspiracy or their plot to kill certain people in the political world.
Mm-hmm.
They were now chasing after to kill her.
Of course.
Again, that's how powerful words are. And until we realize how much power we have in the pen, there you have it.
Mm-hmm. That's the
There you have
truth.
it.
I
So,
realized words were powerful whenever I would get upset real quick and shoot a text message off. Once the text message went off, I felt better. And I
yeah.
felt like, shoot, I don't even need them to read that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just needed to get what I needed to get out. That's when I stopped doing that and I started writing in a journal.
See, I journal everything. I journal my thoughts, I journal my prayers, I journal my dreams, I journal my grocery list. Like, dear God, please let Greg get cilantro because I need, I mean, it's just like, get the cilantro, I journal
Hey, I'm gonna
everything.
write it. It's gonna happen.
Yes, because it like, listen, if I'm trying to make some pico, you need the cilantro. You know what I mean? It's that deep. It's you got one job, get the cilantro.
And
You know what I mean? So, yes, yes. And then now that I'm in school and I'm learning counseling, just writing it down. What Because again, it's the psychological, what the words and
yep.
how the words is making you feel, and can you uh push back certain words where it's like, I'm not even going to even allow that to come at me. So somebody can
Mm-hmm.
say, well, I don't like you, you're oh, they don't like me, I'm in my feelings, but if I build a wall, their emotions is not going to come in that wall. So the words is not going to penetrate. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how powerful words are. Now
Right.
let's shift into your creative realm where you are creating. You still deny that. I'm gonna let it go. Your writing, your creative writing, your book. Faith is now at number 3. There's just all right. So I need to catch up, and I'm definitely going to catch up with Faith because when I was reading, I saw you. That's just me. That's just me. But you say it's not.
I feel like when I was writing Faith, I was literally making sure I did not put any of my personal experiences in there. So, disclosure, I, anything that Faith has experienced, I did not
I'm
experience.
not. I'm not. I'm not gonna let that go easily. But you can keep saying what you want to say. I'm gonna sip on that. But what was your inspiration? Now, what's your inspiration with from poetry to creative writing?
Um, so with the creative writing, I would say that it had to do, oh man, not now you about to really get me. It had to do with what I was doing at the time. At the time
Hmm.
that I got super inspired, I was doing a lot of partying and I was hanging out with a lot of fun people.
Question. We'll say questionable individuals. We'll say that.
And I was literally like, listen, I was young. I was up all night, partying, sipping, and it just inspired this story in me. But I think what really inspired the story is the relationships and the people who I was connecting with at the time and what we did have going on in life and what I felt like I was missing in life. I'll
Okay.
say that.
Okay.
So it inspired me to want to write my own version of
Okay.
rewrite my own version of history, so to speak, um, where if this were me,
If.
maybe
Okay.
things went this way.
Okay. If. Big if. Okay. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Right. Okay.
But so I feel like that's what basically formed it, just wanting to rewrite my own version of something that I felt was better. And
Okay.
it's funny that I say it because it's urban fiction, you know, it has like its points where
Hmm.
obviously you're like, okay, this is deep. Like, why would she want to go through that? No, this is just whenever I grew up reading urban fiction novels from, you know, where I come from, where I grew up. I can relate to them better,
Right,
you
right,
know. So
right.
even being able to, and at that point, with what I was doing in my life and things like that, I felt like this is kind of the just the how I felt. You know, this is
Okay.
what I was in, what I was feeling.
Okay. Okay.
So whenever I started writing it, like it poured out of me, like two books poured out of me quick. And then I didn't do anything with it because I didn't have like I didn't know what to do at that point. Like, you know, stories written, and now I'm just like, I don't know what to do. A couple of years later, I had bought a computer and I'm like, I'm gonna type this story up. Like
Hmm.
I just want to put this together now. Now here's the creative process. You know, the part that gets to be a little bit time consuming, fun, and all of that. Because now we're starting to make sure that your story's making sense. There's a plot, it's flowing,
Yes.
and all of these jumbled thoughts and interactions and relationships that I wanted to create and write about, I now got to throw into this story and make it mean something.
Hmm.
So I started to do that, and it's just started to develop into something else, like a third book. Like, you know, when you take time away and then you come back, you're at a different place in your life and things
Yes.
like that. So now you're looking at stuff different, different ideas, different places where you feel like you want these characters to go. Kind of takes hold, and
Hmm.
now we're getting into a story. You know,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
you know, and
I
now
like
it's starting
that.
to write itself, and that's what I tell people. Like, for me, the story writes has written itself. I would, and I knew that when I would hear. Sorry, my thoughts go in 20 different directions. So excuse me for
Go ahead, do
jumping
your
left.
thing. Let it
But
flow. Let it flow. Let it flow.
one thing that I do to myself is if I come up with an idea in the middle of the night for like a scene or a story or a dialogue or something, I'll write it down. I want to challenge myself to remember it in the morning or in 2 days, because if I do, I feel like the story's writing itself. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So if that idea comes back to me in 2 days and I'm like, okay, hold on, we on to something because I remember this. And so this to me, this means the story's writing itself. And then I might, you know, write something, and then I might have to go back and do some fillers. When I do fillers and they start to connect, like the dots is just connecting, it just
Yes.
feels so like accomplished,
Yes.
because you're like, oh man, like this story's really writing itself. I'm not even doing it. Like, these
Yes.
characters are taking on a personality of their own. They are going through what they're going through, which is leading to this other stuff. I ain't doing nothing.
Yes. I love that part of creativity. Years ago, it had to be maybe 2001 or two. I don't know. Maybe three or four. Who knows? I remember I came home and Oprah was on. This is when she was still doing the TV show. And you know, Oprah, everybody knows Oprah's a big reader, the book club and everything. And she was talking to authors and she said, "What do you do when the character takes over?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of she had interviewed numerous and numerous of writers, and they were all
Good
saying the
question.
character takes over them. The character lives in their house and all this other stuff. And I kept saying these people are crazy, right? And this is quote unquote Oprah, to embrace your emotions and embrace your feelings and everything. And I love Oprah. Everybody knows I love Oprah.
Yep.
She still has a PFA on me. I jokingly tease this. I
Oh.
jokingly say she's a PFA on me because she won't read my books, but nonetheless, you know what I mean? But I kept saying, typical Oprah, everybody's in touch with their feelings and, you know, whatever. When I really, really, really began to start writing, because I've shared my story a lot, that I've been writing since I was a kid and da 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 da. But
Mm-hmm.
it seemed very strange that they were saying I never experienced anything like this. But I really, really tapped into that creative realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working on my first book. And I got to a block and there was a scene that I really wanted to tackle. Like I had to hit it hard, hard, hard. I just put myself in that. What I did was I shift all my reality away.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, you know what, I'm not in this world. I'm in the creative realm, and I put my characters there. My characters, it was like going to another world,
You
right?
like you're in the movie. You watching.
Exactly. And I had to almost journal as if I was a reporter, journal everything that they said and did.
Mm-hmm.
If he scratched his head asking a question, I had to write that. If she took a deep breath and
Mm-hmm.
sighed, I had to write that. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what Oprah was talking about. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
If
And
the
that's
forehead wrinkle because they,
yep,
was confused, you gotta
yes,
write that,
yes. So they take over. When you're in that creative realm, it's a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what do you do when you get writer's block?
That is I hate that the most.
Okay,
When I get writer's block, I take some time away,
okay,
and I think I try to I think I try to pull them into our realm now.
okay,
I think I shift it because again, I'm looking for the story to write itself. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to force myself to come up with things and to write things. You know what I mean?
uh-huh,
And it almost feels like that's what I'm doing because it's like I'm thinking hard, hard all day, constantly. It's on my mind.
okay,
What is the ending to this story? What is the plot to this? Where are we going? What are they doing? Like I'm constantly asking myself those questions, but I'm looking for it in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I'm doing something or I'm walking down the street, I'm just trying to tap into these characters, bring them into real life, and figure out where are they going from here. Sometimes, and it's hard. You know what I mean? This ain't something that I could do in one day. This is something that takes months sometimes, and sometimes I have to tell myself just stop, just
right,
don't think about it. Like, you know what I mean? Leave it alone.
okay,
Come back to it. Sometimes I have, since Faith is a 3-book series, and two of the books are already published and complete out now, Faith and No Faith. Um, I have gone back to kind of reread the stories and just try to get a creative flow that way. Like, like just where is this journey going? You ever like watch a movie or watch a TV show or just watch anything on TV and you see
right,
your own creative vision for where you wanted this story to go, in your favorite
yes,
TV show? You're like, man, I wish it would have went like this, or I would I kind of push it. I want to push it out that way. You know what I mean? Like I'm reading these stories and I'm kind of trying to push it out, and really what it really comes down to is being patient, um, and just not being so hard on myself and taking time. Because I also realized that, like I said before, we're at different points in our lives at certain points. So in a couple of months, I might not be at the same place in my life, and something might just trigger. So it's a matter of just giving it time, and also just making sure that you're coming back to it and keeping it in your mind. Um, I haven't started writing other ideas yet for other stories when I get a block because I want to keep my focus over here on Faith. I'm going to try that though, like we had talked about. I'm going to try. I got other projects in my head, other things that I want to write. I want to write a murder mystery. I told you that, and I already got ideas for it. So maybe I'll try to do that as a form of just stepping away from the book that I'm working on whenever I got block on it, because for the most part it's just patience. We just got to be patient and wait for that story to unfold within ourselves and within life. You know what I'm saying? That's
I was
how I
told
do
that when we get a block, this is what I was told. I don't know how true it is. And I even experienced some of the aspects of it. I was told that when there is some type of creative block, that's an emotional block. That there's something emotionally that the author hasn't dealt with in their lives.
it. That can make sense. I can see that.
Um, Let me see. So, prime example, and this is really moot. So, Christmas time growing up, I got everything. My brother and I got everything we asked for. We made the list, we gave it to our parents, and this is what we want for Christmas. And everything was underneath the tree. And now I'm born in March. And my dad always told me if you didn't get anything you want for Christmas, your birthday's around the corner. So more likely they patched it up for Christmas for my birthday. But there was one toy. I'm 47. There's one toy I never got, and I was My Little Pony.
Oh.
Never got a My Little Pony. I put on a list every time. Now, who knows why? Maybe because they just like, you know what? We forgot about it. We'll get the major stuff first. Never got My Little Pony. Now, if I was that kid, I can always say to my dad, "You never got me My Little Pony." I mean, if I was that kid, but who
Mhm.
cares, right? Or I could just chalk it off as whatever. But what if that's an emotional issue? What if I felt that you didn't hear my needs? I just wanted
Right.
the pony was something
Right.
because I like horses. Who, who then that's really a moot point. But
Right.
that could be an emotional trigger. And if we're writing something about a character that maybe is not fed emotionally by their parents or their guardians, whatever, it could probably stem to that aspect in my childhood.
Yeah.
Or now that's petty, right? Because it's like you really 47 years old, you mad at your parents and they didn't get you My Little Pony. All right, time to grow up. Or I could tap into the hardcore stuff. I personally, my mother had me at 18, my dad was 20. I was born in chaos, right? There was a lot going on in my parents' life. And here I come. I don't want to say I was a distraction or I was added to the chaos, but they was extremely young mentally,
Yeah.
young emotionally. Here comes a baby. The last thing they needed in their lives was a baby.
Right.
And what I viewed growing up was that I was just all right, just part of the package, just whatever. But then when my brother came, they were now married. They were more settled. It was a season of a calm atmosphere. So if I was writing something where there was some type of chaos, here comes an extra package that we now have to deal with.
Right.
That's an emotional trigger.
Right.
And I could now here's the thing, my mom's deceased, so I can't sit there and say, well, why did you make me feel this way growing up? But
Mhm.
I could go to my father and say, this is I I'll put the disclaimer in this now before I don't want people to think that I have issues with my dad. I personally I don't have any issues. I laugh at how my parents attempted to raise me as a newborn. If I if I was an adult now watching them then, it was
Mhm.
funny. It was funny. So there's no emotional trauma there. But I want to put that disclaimer in because God forbid my father sees this video and he's like, "What are you saying?" No, I'm not saying
Say
anything.
nothing.
No, I'm not saying anything because they did the best they could. They really did. And I thank God for that. But what I'm saying is if I was that person, and again, is not to dismiss anybody's feelings, but if I was that person and I'm writing and I'm working on a book about life because life hits everyone. And the last thing you need when life hits is more situations when it hits you harder. And then I'm stuck.
Mhm.
Now you got to deal with emotionally that situation that you may not have thought
Right.
was the real issue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's a lot of people that write don't get that this may be an issue that's causing the block because your character may not be going through something similar, but there's an issue that needs to be resolved.
That makes sense. So I would say then that means when you're that like at that point where we're taking that break and stepping away from the novel, um, I would hope that within those that time period we're tackling that issue. You know what I'm saying? If we know what
Yes.
it is, because I would say that that's like for me the step away. Like definitely not thinking of it in depth whenever I have a block that is something that I'm feeling emotionally, but I am feeling like I need to come back here in a couple of months when I'm in a different place
Yes.
because maybe something will start flowing and within that couple of months, yes, I may be going through something, may have gone through something that is contributing to this block, because ultimately whenever I can't tap in creatively at all, it's usually because there is something going on personally and I can't, like, it's hard to lose yourself in fantasy whenever you're like so startled by what's going on in reality, you know. So it's like, yes, that's when that break is highly needed and it's like, all right, I just got to step away and deal with life, real life,
Hmm.
and come back in a couple of months and we'll see.
So This past Thanksgiving, everybody knows. I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm a Rocky fan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, me and Rocky are like this, as thick as thieves. And I watch Thanksgiving. I watch Rocky every year from Rocky one all the way to Creed.
Oh, you binge watch.
I binge, right? Um, and I noticed on Netflix Wednesday that there's a documentary on Sylvester Stallone called Sly.
Okay.
And he talks about his beginning, his background, and everything. Of course, he gets into Rocky. And the purpose of Rocky was the purpose of him writing Rocky and other movies that he was in is because there weren't many movies for him. Sly has a certain speech, he has a certain physique, and there weren't any roles for him. It's like, no, we don't want you. So he was writing the roles for him. He was creating his own platform, which I completely admire. So he wrote Rocky based on he just does not want to be considered a bum, this guy, a
Mm-hmm.
loser. And then he goes off and do other movies, and they were okay, but they weren't the best. And then he wrote Rocky 2, and Rocky 2 basically was about everything that Salai was going through as a man, because again he was kind of, well, you had the success of this, which is Rocky, but you're not really this, you know what I mean? And then here's Rocky 3, Rocky 4, so be it. So
Mm-hmm.
he was pulling aspects from his personal life and putting it into the characters and everything as well.
Yeah.
So that just gave me a better, even more appreciation for Rocky, and I'm going to torment my family even more this weekend with Rocky. But do you feel that when you're writing, you can put, it may not be faith, but it may be maybe a character that you can say, let me put this, because this character may be feeling this, and I remember feeling this way. I remember having a situation. Do you feel that when your characters, in a sense that when you say to your readers, this was me, and it could be a side character? Am I asking that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like whenever I did Faith, um for some reason I feel like there was a vulnerability writing it, and maybe because like I said, I was writing it from a place of a creative place, obviously, because if I were to rewrite my life, no, I would not rewrite it that way. But when we're writing an urban fiction, and this is what we're going with, um I feel like there was a vulnerable piece of me that I was sharing within just some of the characters' needs and desires and things like that. But I tried to make sure that I wasn't recognizable because
Okay.
of that. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want people to read it, and I didn't want to feel like they were literally getting my personal and true feelings. You know what I mean? So when it came to faith, I tried to disconnect intentionally and
Hmm.
tried not to do that.
Okay.
But yes, I do feel like it happens naturally, because when I'm writing, there would be things that was like, that's like to me.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I did do that, and I didn't allow it with faith. I tried not to allow
Okay.
it. Apparently,
Okay.
you still think that I'm
I'm just
I'm
saying.
channeled in there. No,
I'm just saying. I'm gonna
but
sit
that was
on that
like
one
the
too.
intent.
Right, right in the cheek, right in the cheek.
But that was the intent. But with and I feel like completing faith, I don't know, it's just going to complete a part of me. Like I need to get this completed and get this out. Now, whenever these ideas that I have for other novels in my head, I want to write a crime, a murder mystery, and then I also got some ideas for fantasy. Like I'm all down with like the whole world of magic and witches and vampires and werewolves. I'm all down with that. I want to write my own eventually. In those, I think that I would relish more in those characters and probably allow myself to be someone, even if it is a side character, because of the fantasy of it. It's like that type of stuff has always been fun for me and
Okay.
interesting. Like, hey, if you could be a witch, a vampire, where would you want to be? You know what I mean? So I
Right.
get to pick that and explore that within this story that I have in my head. So I feel like when it comes to that, yeah, yeah, there'll definitely be some me that's like,
No, no, I
ooh,
get it. I get
that's
it.
me.
That was a challenge for me. Writing fantasy was definitely a challenge because I just can't see having a casual conversation and the dragon just walk past. I'm like, did some, did you just see that? Like, you know what I mean? um, watch a game. I binge watch. I finally saw Games of Thrones. I binged it last summer. Binged hard too, girl. Um,
Yeah. How
I
how many
was
seasons is it?
6, I think.
Okay.
6 or 7. I could be
Okay.
wrong. I could stand corrected.
Well, somewhere up there though.
Yeah, like every character has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I admire because it's not just you got the main character, most popular characters, of course, but each character has like every character has a purpose. Um, I personally identify with Khaleesi because she was a dragon person. She connected with the dragons. I I I throw in my Aries nonsense because whatever. But I definitely identified with her, and it was all about being the king or queen of the Iron Throne, of course, the leadership, the domination, all that, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And then it takes it back. They have a prequel now called The House of Dragon,
Okay.
where Khaleesi's actual character comes. Now, what's how do I want to say it? The House of Dragon explains why the two characters towards the end was ordained, not ordained. One thought that she was destined for the throne, but one was an actual heir to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense with the House of Dragon.
Got you.
But again, it was the idea of, you're having dinner and a dragon just walks past. I'm just like,
Yeah, like how do
Tuesday.
you
It's
it's
Tuesday.
but it's fun.
No, believe me, when I'm watching it, it's fun. But but again, I'm in a whole nother realm.
You got to tap into the emotions and the real, like, how would I really react? How would a person react? Or like, yeah, it's like,
Well, the house in Game of Thrones is normal. It's Tuesday.
yeah,
But in
that's what they're
America, on
used
the
to, huh?
25th of November, it's like who like 30 okay, okay. So I gotta it's going to be it's going to be great. I'm shifting. I'm getting it.
Yeah,
I'm getting it. So I've
yeah,
been working on it. I'm trying to I'm trying to arrange a realistic plot.
right. Because you
So
got to tap into some. This is something else. This,
that's where I'm stuck at. A
yeah,
realistic plot. Not just the fantasy of it, but what is the purpose? Because each book has a purpose. It's to
yep,
tell the story, of course, but there's a purpose. And it's like, okay, what is my purpose in this particular book? Because I want at least two sequels,
okay,
2 books out of it.
okay, good, good. I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. I love, hey, I love anything that's in the fantasy realm. It's just a whole different type of escape. So,
That trust me, I didn't talk to anybody for like maybe 2.5 weeks. I ain't
man,
talked to my family. I
did
ain't
you
talked.
did you come out thinking you was your character? Like, hold on, we're the dragons.
I was definitely Khaleesi. I was just looking at people hoping fire would just, especially folks that work my nerves. Like, I could just burn this city. You know what I mean? But
What you say in this world, that possibility is there.
like you wouldn't like me in Games of Thrones. I'm telling you right now. But no, you don't want people to get hurt. You just want to burn the city a little bit. Just let them know. Just show them your wrath and your fury for about 10, 15
Exactly,
minutes.
but everybody's safe. No harm, no harm.
No harm, no. Now my husband shakes his head. He goes, "Don't pull that Aries nonsense today. We're not dealing with it." Poor Greg. It will be a hashtag. Poor Greg. But poor guy. I don't know how he puts up with it, but that's okay. It's just funny. All right. So what's next for TK?
What's next is I'm really, really working on finishing the Faith series.
Okay.
On the last book, and I'm pretty much down to trying to get this ending written.
Okay.
And I think that I'm having trouble because it's the ending, and I think
Okay.
that I'm sad to see it end. You know,
Oh,
so I
okay.
think that
I
I'm
get it.
kind of, I think that's my writer's block, that I'm
Okay.
afraid to see it end. You know, and I know this ending got to go out with a bang, and it's like,
Mhm.
what's the bang? Like, what am I doing? Is are we going to kill off a major character? Are we going to break hearts like that? Like, like
I was really hoping in the first book. I mean, you told me when I read it, but I was hoping it was different in the ending. I'm like, well, he's like, I told you. It tells you. I'm like, well, I
it
was hoping it
tells
was.
you at the beginning,
I was
so you
hoping it was
don't
a
go through
metaphor.
too much of a roller coaster. But you got to read part two because there is a twist. In part two, I would say part one was more so the beginning, the introduction into um how the characters developed in part two.
Okay.
Um, Part one, it was kind of more of like a romantic story
Hmm.
between these two characters, but part two explores more so what happens to these characters after that explosive ending with Faith dying.
You have
So
to send me the link for part
I
two. So
got you. So yeah, part
yeah.
two gets a little bit down and dirty, I say, because that ending in part one opened up the door for the characters to develop in some ways that are a little bit destructive.
Okay.
So you kind of got to get into part two because, like I said, that one is going. It takes a whole different feeling and vibe than that romantic, ooh, falling for the guy, falling for
Never
the
want
girl
that.
and part three, part three is kind of like I would say with most trilogies, that third one kind of takes it back to the beginning on you. And you kind of
Oh.
get back into that setting that had you fall in love with everything in the first place. So I would
Okay.
say that's what part three is going to bring.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm trying to just, but obviously we're looking for an explosive ending though to kind of still knock you out your seat.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. All right.
So
So
that's what's next.
do you have a website? Do you have your website?
So my website is under construction. I got to get that work back up.
Okay.
Once it is, I will share it back online and share it on my Facebook and things like that. But right now, down and under construction, so that I can get it updated and make some changes and things like that.
All right, that sounds good. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have TK Simpson. Thank you so much for joining us. You can
Thanks for
find her
having
on
me.
Facebook under TK Simpson. Also, go on the E. Davis website, edavisllc.org, to see the full interview as well, YouTube and Facebook. The author chat with E. Davis is sponsored by Writers Block Publishing LLC and Starks Contracting, and of course, E. Davis LLC. Have a great evening.
Thanks for having me.